Hi people, it's me, Anja. My pronouns are she and her, and welcome back to my channel for a new recent reads video. The first book on this list is called Taxi Ghost. This story is a middle-grade urban fantasy graphic novel that follows a young main character who starts to realize that she can see ghosts once she hits puberty, which is a bit of a family trait, but not every family member in her family has inherited it, if that makes any sense. This book was so good. And honestly, at the time, all I wanted from it was a nice, light-hearted, fun, cozy adventure, and that's exactly what I got, which is why I rated it 4 stars, because first of all, the illustrations are so pretty and so vivid. I love the ghosts, I love the family dynamics, the characters are so well developed and so distinct, the plot is so engaging and so intriguing. I loved the mystery. This book is so good. And it's so underrated. And I think I had rather low expectations prior to reading this book because I think that I've read another graphic novel by this author before, like last year or something like that. And I rated it 3 stars, so I was quite surprised when I enjoyed this book so much more. But anyway, overall, this book was so good. The characters are so well developed and so distinct. Again, like I said, I loved the family dynamics, and it felt so lighthearted and so much fun. So anyway, with that said, I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Miracle Season. This story is a middle-grade contemporary following a young main character in the wake of her brother's accident and how she tries to revitalize her family and her life and everything, but her attempts to do that kind of go south very quickly. I don't know if that made any sense at all, but this book was so good. I really enjoyed it. I love stories set in small towns because I love stories centered on like community and like getting to know your neighbors and stuff like that. I don't know if that makes any sense, but the characters really make the story come to life so much more. I loved the main character's relationship with her brothers and her parents and her best friend and making new friends. And like, this book is so good. The plot is so engaging and so intriguing. The story is so emotionally driven and it felt so real and so well done. This book is so excellent and it's so good. The writing is so well done. The pacing is so awesome. I loved like even the magical realism elements and like the reality TV show stuff. This book is so good. So anyway, with that said, I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Vivi, Conway and the Sword of Legend. This story is a middle-grade urban fantasy that follows a young autistic main character who discovers that she's being called to Excalibur and that she and her friends share the souls of witches. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but this book is so good. It is absolutely so excellent. I really enjoyed the Welsh mythology and the friendship and the magic and like the disability representation and the queer representation and everything. This book is so good. First of all, the characters are so well developed and so distinct, and I love the friendships so much because they felt so wholesome and so well done. The magic and the world building are so like immersive and so fantastical, and I'm so excited to read the sequel, although I'm not quite sure when I'm going to get to it, because since this book is published in the UK, I believe the sequel has already been published in the UK, but I don't know when it will be published in America yet, if that makes any sense. But anyway, the plot and the mystery and the world building were so well done and so intriguing. Like I said, I love the diversity of the cast of characters amongst her friend group. This book is so fantastic and I really enjoyed it. And it felt so wholesome and so cozy and so well done. And it didn't really feel too juvenile like I was expecting it to be. Sometimes when I'm reading middle grade, it just feels too young for me and the characters just feel too young. But in this one, they felt more real, if that makes any sense. But anyway, all that to say, I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called I'm Not Supposed to Be in the Dark, which is really ironic considering how much time the main character spends being in the dark and being somewhat satisfied with that for some reason, which is interesting because I would not be. I would be so much more frustrated than I felt like she was. But anyway, For those who don't know, this story is a YA paranormal contemporary following a young main character who discovers that her best friend is supposedly being possessed, and she has an ability to see ghosts, kind of. But she's, like, been avoiding this ability because she sees it as, like, a curse instead of a gift or whatever. But, speaking of, I didn't like this book very much, and I had somewhat high expectations because I had just previously read Deep in Providence by this author last week, which was absolutely so good. And this book was so disappointing because, first of all, the magic system felt so underdeveloped, and I didn't quite understand, like, all the details. Second of all, like I mentioned earlier, the main character spent so much time in the dark, and she seemed too wishy-washy about it, and I felt like she should have challenged that a lot more than she actually did. Third of all, the romance was also so underdeveloped and felt really forced a lot of the time, and they didn't really have any actual chemistry, if that makes any sense. Fourth of all, or whatever number I'm on, I didn't like this book very much, and the pacing felt off, and I felt like the ending, like, dragged on too long. You know what I mean? Like, the third act, specifically. But anyway, overall, I rated this book 3 stars. I don't recommend it, and take that as you will. The last book on this list, and certainly not the least, is called Here Goes Nothing. This story is a YA contemporary retelling of Much Ado About Nothing, which I knew nothing about prior, and it follows a young sapphic asexual main character as she is navigating her past traumas, her future, and her sexuality. This story is absolutely so excellent, and it's so well done. I loved that it navigated the idea of, like, being 18 and not quite knowing anything about yourself, and being challenged with the idea that, like, other people around you, even people younger than you, do know more about their future than you do, and feeling very lost and, like, misunderstood. If that makes any sense, this book is so, so good. First of all, the queerness was so well represented, and it felt so real. The characters are so well developed and so distinct. I loved the main character's relationship with, like, her friends and her romance and her sister and everything. The plot is so engaging and so intriguing. Like, this book is so good, and it felt so wholesome and so lighthearted, while also having an undertone of, like, deeper topics as well underneath, if that makes any sense. This book is so, so good, and I definitely preferred it to the author's debut, which I read a few years ago. But anyway, overall, I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I would definitely highly, highly recommend it. So, in conclusion, the quality of the books that I've been reading lately in November has been very, very nice and very fruitful, which I really, really appreciate. So, in conclusion, if you enjoy this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the elephant emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!